You know, we ain't gonna talk about that, but you've shaped up the beard. But like everybody in here, you've kind of groomed and kept them fresh and give them that self-esteem. And I know people have come in here with stories, or you've helped them out in situations of like, maybe not tell something specific, but just tell us like what that's like, of like you having conversations with people while you're, you know, freshening them up. And like,
so it's a lot of different emotions. When you have conversations with like young kids and they're fiending for direction, and then they're lost, or and then you give it to them, and then when they leave, you're like, dang, I did that. Mm-hmm. And then 2 weeks later, you hear they were either killed or in prison, like yes. You made a move. So my time in that chair, like I would pour a lot of my emotions in, and people would listen. But then, like I said, I got letters in the back from the penitentiary and I hate that, like of just, hey, you were right. I don't want to be right. You know what I'm saying? Just the, like, you know, or then you got kids that you give good advice and they take it and then they soar, you know. But a lot of times when you're in a barbershop, like, and you have that thing with your barber, it's a lot of personal, I wouldn't say secrets, but there's a lot of personal things that you have to keep. And people don't really understand that.
It's like a bartender, right?
Man, well,
but
I think it's because your barber, people confide in you, like, serious with some shit I don't want to hear. I'm like, damn, why'd they tell me that? Like, and some stuff I'm like, I'm honored that they shared that with me.
Yeah. How do you self-care? How do you self-care?
Courtney, before we move on, let me address that, right? Because Sean, I'm 39. Sean started cutting my hair. I was probably 3 or 4, and like she started cutting my hair in the washroom downstairs in her grandma's house. And at that time, it was like Bobby Brown haircut. It was Gumby haircut. It was whatever we saw on TV Sean would do. And from 3 until now, you come
35 years.
You come to 35 plus years. Mm-hmm. You come to the barbershop in every moment of your life, right? Before a funeral, you got to get fresh. Before homecoming, you got to get fresh. Before the big game, you got to get. Sean cut my hair the day of my wedding, 2 hours before. Like, the barbershop, like she's saying, is a sanctuary, but it's also a place where you go and you share emotions with everybody without judgment. Like, now there's jokes and we can have some moments of joy and sadness, but it's a place where you go and you open your heart. And Sean, like we crowned her the godmother of Park Hill because of that, because she's going to give it 100% real to you every single time, whether it hurts your feelings or helps your feelings. Yeah. And it's been like that for not just me, but for the entire community.
Exactly. And Rodney, I love that you tapped into that, the positive part of the Black barbershop, right? And then you talk about the positivity that comes out of this. I don't know how many square feet it is, you know, let's call it. No, seriously, like real talk, it's like 1,000 square feet that people pack in here to be with. Like, I'm sure it gets loud, it gets fun, it gets sad. Like, there's a ton of emotions that come into it. And that's where I was talking about some of the most memorable moments. But Rodney tapped into it to say, like,
I got one.
Like Black Joy moments.
I got one.
Yeah, so just real quick. Just real quick. So, just kind of hearing you process things, Sean. You know, you're a barber, but you're a mentor, you're a social worker, you're a therapist.
It's tough.
And like, let's look at the proximity of your shop. Like, you have like your own couch back there. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally sanctioned off. So when you say, there's some shit that said to me that like I kind of got to keep to myself. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure.
It's pressure.
And that's a lot of weight. So before, the question I want to ask you is.
So are we talking about my question or your question?
It was mine. It was mine. Then Rodney said his piece. Then it's back to me. Then it's back to you, big boy. So with that being said, like, how do you decompress? You know what I mean? Because you are one person. Because you have a job where you just take in so much shit. Like, you take the good and the bad. You know what I mean? So for you to say, I got letters from prison. I got people's head that I cut and he died the next week. Mm-hmm. Like, that shit that social workers deal with, that shit that therapists deal with. And there is this thing called secondary trauma that you ultimately have to deal with, because sometimes we may feel that we operating, we're good. And the next thing you know, you're at home and have a panic attack.
Listen, if you were born in the 70s, we all got trauma.
Yeah, you goddamn right.
Yeah, that's a fact.
We all.
Hey, Rodney's shaking his head. That boy was born in 1988.
83. I know that. Listen, I know that trauma because that trauma was taken out on us younger cousins.
Go ahead, Sarah.
But you know, that's real talk. Like, it's tough. Like, and so you asked me that. I don't have a perfect recipe on how to. I just been like, nobody has a perfect regiment, right? You just kind of like, this is gonna work. Let's try this. Like, let's try that. But what kind of did it for me is I lost my grandma earlier part of this year, and sometimes I felt like if I didn't do certain things, like, things wouldn't happen. Like, the world, if I don't call this person back, they might hurt themselves. Or if they're asking me, hey, Sean, what do you think about that? And I don't respond. So I always felt obligated to, but when she passed and I stepped away and I seen that things go on, whether you're present or not, now I learned how to pick. And I also know that it was like wearing on me. Like, I never, like, you know, like, I'll be 50 in January, but that thing has taken a toll. I used to be able to multitask and over here and over there, but now, like, I take my time because I don't want to be, like, in a body that is, like, or trapped in, like, your mind is just so gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're all over the place and you can't even focus. Inside, you look, on the outside, you look just cool. You know what I mean? But inside, I'm trying to work so many things out for everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I wasn't giving myself no time. And now, from 2022, like, people that know me, I'm not, like, I just live by the creed that whatever I'm saying, I'm not in charge for how you take it, right? I used to be like, dang, I don't want to say that. How can I say this? I just say it. Because people who really know me, they know where my heart, where it's coming from. It's not a dig. It's not to tear no one down. All I ever wanted to see was people win. You know what I'm saying? Like, win. Like, I don't have to get nothing. I'm not one. You know, some people have to, you know, receive something to, you know. I'm just gonna go. Like, I go to. If you tell me, hey, I got a game here, I'm there. I'm gonna make it happen some kind of way. You know what I'm saying?
But are you okay with taking time for Sean? That's kind of what the question. Like, I'm working on it. Like, taking time for Sean because you're taking on so much emotional baggage.
Well, I'm in therapy.
Okay, now we're talking.
I'm in therapy. I didn't know that I even needed. Like, we grew up in a time where it's like, stand on whatever. Like, you tough. Like, it's cool. Like, you'll be all right. You be straight. Absolutely. And so, like, little things, like, I remember when I was like, I think I might have been 13, and I went to a concert, and one of my friends got killed at this concert, right? No, it was Big John's party. So when I just had talked to him, a fight broke out. I'm 13, right? Little fight breaks out. The crowd pushes into the foyer of the gym. It was at the Paul Beck Center. And when the doors swang back, it was like 3 hard thuds on the door. When I pushed through and went out, like somebody I was just talking to was, his whole neck was just inside out, right? So I go home to my grandma, which she from Mississippi. She from Money, Mississippi, you know? I go home and I say, Grandma, like, I don't know how to get this out of my head. Like, this is what happened, you know? And she's just looking and she's just like, it'll be okay. Just pray about it. God will take care of it. Which at 13, I'm saying, well, in the meanwhile, these visions, how I get that out?
They're present.
How do I get that out? So, like, my faith is super strong now, but at 13, it's like,
How do you
process that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that's traumatizing.
So you
at
just
that
tuck
age.
it away, right? Nobody's saying, hey, you seen that? Let me get you over here to this doctor. Like, let me let you get that out, right? And to somebody that can help you with that. Like, that's the Black community. We done been through it.
Can we tap into that just real quick?
Absolutely.
Therapy for Black people.
Yeah.
It's like forbidden, right? I see a
Yeah.
therapist. I ain't gonna lie, I see a therapist. I talk.
No, that's
Me
dope.
too.
I saw one today.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
what do you get out of it?
Not only is it therapy, but it's a release. Like, I can talk about things that I never would have ever shared with anybody. And I could talk about my fears, I could talk about my successes, I could talk about anything, and it's unjudged. And the days that I go when there's nothing wrong is the days that I get the most out of it. And a lot of people in our community don't understand that. Like, it ain't gotta be bad on your face for you to get help.
Yeah.
And you go in there and they
like
just
that.
talk, right?
I like
Yeah.
that.
Like, they ask you questions, like very specific
The right
questions.
questions.
The right questions. A good therapist will ask you the right questions, and it'll unpack shit that you've never even imagined existed.
It was the best thing I could have ever did for my. Now, when you say like that in 2020, that was the best thing I ever done for myself.
Like an investment for yourself.
Yes, and it's crazy when I started feeling like, dang, all these things, you know, I deal with my stress, I get busier. Like I tap in over here and I'm over here, so those things go to the back, right? So I'm not really thinking about them. But when COVID hit and I couldn't go nowhere and get busy, I'm
It's with you.
They're like this, hey, you remember
No,
me?
sure, absolutely.
You remember me?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
absolutely.
oh, snap.
You gotta
like,
deal with you.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
you got time to sit down with you now.
No, absolutely.
So and
That's a great point,
I think
Sal.
that's a hard thing for African Americans to be vulnerable, like because we come up and you know we bag on each other,
Yeah.
like
That's
we
just
talk.
fun, though.
It's super fun. I'm super fun. But you couldn't be like, hey, you couldn't be like.
Some
hey,
of us
Sal,
take it better than others.
You
but,
couldn't be like.
yeah, some of us take it better than others.
You couldn't tell Jay that hurt my feelings.
Here's Damien's trigger.
No, you couldn't. Hell no, you
Hey, when
couldn't.
David come to the tip of that chair, oh, he hurt. He hurt. And then,